talk about the upper of the shoe. And so this is the Asics Nova Blast number 4, and this is a standard mesh material. Mesh materials typically are going to be made from fabrics that are going to breathe real easily. It's going to fit pretty well, but just be a standard in the running shoe industry as far as the majority of running shoes are made from some sort of mesh material. That contrasts with a knit upper that you see like here on the Mizuno Neo Vista. This is number 1. They're on to number 2. It's a little older shoe, but this knit material, knits uppers are one of those things that most people would say either it really fits you well, and some knit materials may, like the way it's made and fit, might fit you incredibly well. Some may not. And so there's a little bit, knit materials can either be super great or super terrible, whereas mesh materials tend to be pretty much across the board, will work for everybody. I will say this about this Mizuno Neo Vista. I've put over 500 miles on the shoe. I love the shoe. Fantastic daily shoe for me, long run shoe for me. But I will say that this knit material holds my sweat more than most, and so hot in the summer. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Some other things to point out as far as thinking about with uppers and things that can be more comfortable or less comfortable. These are standard laces here in this shoe, and that compares to something that you might find in a race day shoe, such as the Nike Alpha Fly. This is an incredibly old pair of Nike Alpha Flies with the OG Nike Alpha Fly with over 600 miles on them, and I love these shoes. But anyway, these have like little knobby shoelaces. I don't know if you can tell on the video, but it just keeps it from coming untied quite as easily. So shoelaces, tongue, and I know you're like, what is there about a tongue? Well, tongues can get a little bit different with running shoes across different shoes. This shoe here, if you feel inside of it, has a piece of elastic on each side of the tongue that holds the tongue in place and keeps the tongue from like sliding around as you're running and getting off centered. Because the tongue is really there to provide padding so that the laces, as you tighten them up, don't bite down onto the top of your foot and cause pain. Lace bite. You don't want lace bite. Once again, typically in a daily trainer, you're going to have a more padded tongue, whereas in a race day shoe, it's typically going to be much more minimal because you're focusing on speed on a race day shoe, whereas a daily shoe, you're focusing more on comfort. So, lace bite, padded tongue. Another area of padding on a daily shoe that's typically going to be much higher than on a race day shoe is the heel. You'll notice on this heel it feels very plush with lots of padding. Once again, for me that means a lot of sweat, whereas a race day shoe is going to be much more minimal, and you're not going to have much back there on the race day shoe. So you see my Nike Alpha Fly, it doesn't have nearly as much padding as the daily shoe, the Asics Nova Blast. Another thing to keep in mind is the amount of support in the heel. So this shoe here has a pretty firm heel cup, a piece of plastic back here that kind of holds your heel in place. Whereas something like the Atreyu Artist, which is an older shoe, like it is extremely floppy back here and doesn't provide near the heel cup support to hold your heel in place. So just some different things to think about on the upper of a shoe. The last thing I'll point out is as far as the upper goes is sometimes we talk about how much room your toes have at the end of the shoe. And we call that the toe box. Companies like Ultra have made a big marketing campaign, and their philosophy is wider toe box so that your feet have plenty of room to splay or spread out at the end of your shoe. Some companies don't put as much room in their toe box, and I'll say this too. Sometimes a shoe company might typically have a more narrow toe box, and then they're going to have one model or of shoe that comes out with a wide toe box. So don't put any shoe company into necessarily a box that every shoe is like the shoe that you've worn, because that's just not how it works. Shoe companies make changes and do different things. So upper toe box, you want to watch lace bite and tongue. I'm more of a minimalist, but a lot of people like to have more maximal padding on the tongue to keep that lace bite down. Heel cup, heel padding. A lot of people like to have a lot of structure in the heel to keep their heel from wobbling. I'm more of the less is better. And that's what makes running shoes so fun, because there's so many things that work for you that might not work for me, and vice versa.